Kentura wasn't happy. While her friends posted beach photos and city vacations, she found herself in a quiet village with her parents. She complained non-stop, from the moment they packed to when they arrived. To her, this was punishment, not a vacation. But her mother insisted it was time to bond as a family, away from the distractions of the city. Meanwhile, in another part of the village, Nellie and her mother returned from the hospital. Her mother had lost her sight. Although they had spent a fortune on treatment, nothing had worked. She feared the burden she was placing on her daughter. Money was tight, and there were no answers yet. Elsewhere, the palace was buzzing. The king had just returned after his father's death and was set to be crowned. One of the palace maidens, Shaka, had grown unusually close to him, touching him in public, even in front of his wife and the prince. Later, the king found the queen in their chamber, distant and cold. She didn't answer his questions, just walked away. Chaka entered soon after, washing the king's feet, a gesture he always enjoyed. When the queen returned to see this, she was furious and stormed out. Prince Ben, still adjusting to life back home, confided in his cousin Sheldon. He missed their simple life abroad and disliked the heavy royal attire. To him, the village felt more like a cage than a kingdom. Back at the hospital, Nellie and her mother received devastating news. The doctor explained that her mother's corneas were damaged. She needed a transplant that would cost millions. With no money and little hope, they left heartbroken. Ben later spoke with his mother, trying to understand her strange mood. She dodged his questions. Wanting fresh air, he decided to take a walk with Sheldon, refusing royal guards. As they strolled, fate intervened. Nellie's mother tripped and fell. Ben rushed to help. Nellie was grateful but had no idea she had just met the prince in disguise. At Chief Okafor's home, Kentura threw a tantrum over her clothes, calling them outdated. Her father was furious, but her mother advised her to change if she didn't like them. Later, Nellie came home with news. She'd found a job. Her mother protested, wanting her to focus on school, but Nellie reminded her they had no choice. Surgery cost money, and the farm's income wasn't enough. Kentura and her mother visited the palace and met the queen. Kentura admired the grandeur, while her mother asked about the royal children. The queen revealed she had 3, including the prince. She sent for him, but Ben had a plan. He convinced Sheldon to dress as the prince. When Sheldon arrived, Kentura's mother was impressed, while the queen was both confused and suspicious. Kentura was overjoyed after the visit, convinced she'd met the prince. Her mother encouraged her. If she played her cards right, she could be queen. After all, the king married young too. The queen later confronted Chaka about her behavior with the king, but Chaka didn't flinch. She boldly claimed the king would be allowed to marry more wives, and she would be one of them. Nellie started her job the next day, assigned to work under Kentura's mother, but as Kentura handed her old clothes to Nellie to throw away, Nellie secretly kept them. At home, her mother broke down, once a proud teacher, now rejoicing over discarded clothes. Nellie tried to stay strong. On another outing, Kentura slapped Nellie for arriving late. Ben intervened, defending Nellie. Sheldon stopped Kentura from hitting Ben too, reminding her of boundaries. As they walked through the village, Ben quietly reminded Nellie he was the one who helped her mother. Nellie thanked him again. Chaka brought the king oranges, his favorite. She massaged his shoulders and questioned his tension. The queen walked in, saw them, and turned away without a word. The next morning, Ben found Nellie waiting outside for Kentura under the scorching sun. He offered her food, but she hesitated, afraid of losing her job. She asked if she could take it home instead. Ben was moved. He later confronted Kentura. Furious, she left Nellie waiting for hours. Kentura dismissed it. Nellie was being paid. But Ben invited Nellie inside and asked why she wasn't in school. She told him about her mother's blindness and the 20,000 naira she earned. Ben did the math. At that rate, it would take 40 years to afford the surgery. Nellie shared her story. Her mother had been a chemistry teacher. A careless student spilled chemicals that blinded her, and she had no protection gear. Meanwhile, Sheldon confessed to Ben that he had feelings for Kentura and had asked her to be his girlfriend. Ben was furious. Sheldon had used Ben's identity. But Sheldon believed Kentura liked him for who he was. Kentura later bragged to her mother about Sheldon's proposal. Ben checked on his mother again. She warned him, whatever he and Sheldon were planning, he had to be cautious. Ben asked if the palace had a social health care fund for villagers. She said yes, and she would see if it could help. The queen, however, was digging deeper. She asked Chaka why the welfare funds weren't helping anyone. The financial reports were a mess. Money was vanishing, and no villagers were receiving aid. Chaka responds harshly, telling the queen that just because she wears a crown doesn't mean she's in charge. Chaka reminds her that she's just a figurehead and even threatens her, saying things will change soon. The queen, disturbed, speaks to the king. She says Chaka is his blind spot and that having his first love still in the palace is affecting her mental health. But the king defends Chaka, saying she's been loyal for years, even trusted by his late parents. He refuses to fire her. When the queen asks if he's planning to marry Chaka after the coronation, the king reminds her that they've been married for 20 years and walks away. Meanwhile, Nelly arrives late to work after taking her mother to the hospital. Kentura's mother doesn't care and scolds her. Chief overhears and listens to Nelly's side. He then gives her money to pay her mother's hospital bill, but Kentura's mother quickly grabs the money from Nelly. Later, Ben finds Nelly crying. She explains that her mother is still at the hospital and she can't leave work to go get her. Ben offers to help. He picks up her mother, brings her home, and even prepares a drink for her. Nelly's mom is touched, but Ben asks her not to tell Nelly he also paid the bill. That evening, Nelly is surprised to find Ben still around. She thanks him and offers to walk him out. As they chat, Nelly trips, and Ben catches her. For a moment, time stands still. Something special is in the air. Back at the palace, Sheldon is worried about Ben coming home late. Ben explains he was helping Nelly's mother, insisting they're just friends. Later, the king also questions Ben for being out without a guard. Ben brushes it off, saying he was visiting a friend. The king warns him to be more careful. Soon, rumors spread. People say the king plans to marry a second wife after the coronation. Some believe it will be Chaka, who was once his lover before he married the queen in an arranged marriage. The queen later visits Nelly's mother and promises that her hospital bills will now be covered by the palace welfare. Nelly's mother is grateful, and the family is finally at peace. The queen questions Ben about his relationship with Nelly. He says they're just friends. She reminds him he was brought back to understand how the kingdom works and that sacrifices must be made. She confesses that her marriage to the king was arranged, and his heart once belonged to someone else. Ben and Nelly grow closer, strolling through the village, playing games at her home, and spending time together. Ben invites her to the coronation as his special guest. He wants to tell her he's the prince, but Kentura interrupts before he can. Sheldon and Ben are both hiding secrets. Sheldon can't pretend to be the prince much longer, and Ben hasn't told Nelly the truth either. On Coronation Day, Kentura tells Nelly not to bother coming. Villagers aren't allowed. Meanwhile, Kentura's dad stares at an old photo, still searching for his long-lost love. Chaka prepares for the coronation, confident the king will marry her afterward. At the ceremony, the truth comes out. Ben is the real prince, not Sheldon. Kentura is heartbroken and doesn't want to hear Sheldon's explanation. She then attacks Nelly out of jealousy, thinking she knew all along. Ben steps in and takes Nelly away. He apologizes for hiding the truth. Nelly is shocked but eventually forgives him. She changes into a stunning dress, and Ben is left speechless. Back at her home, Nelly's mother is shocked too. She had no idea Ben was a prince. Later that night, the queen walks in on Chaka in bed with the king. She says nothing and quietly walks out. The king later tells Chaka that their relationship must end. He's married to the queen and has grown to love her deeply. Meanwhile, Kentura's mother is searching for her gold ring. She can't find it and later accuses Nelly of stealing it, finding it in her bag. Even Chief believes the evidence. Nelly is devastated. Ben searches for Nelly but can't find her. Nelly's mother is worried too. When Ben finally takes her to Chief's home, a huge truth comes out. Chief recognizes Nelly's mother, Rose. She was his first wife. Nelly is his daughter. Rose explains how she left him after he became rich and unfaithful. Kentura also learns that Chief is not her real father. Kentura's mother admits she planted the ring to frame Nelly and make her daughter feel better. Chief apologizes, but Nelly and her mother walk away. That night, the queen washes the king's feet and asks for forgiveness for doubting his love. The king assures her she's the only one he loves. Chief later visits Nelly and apologizes again. He never replaced her mother and regrets everything. In the final scene, Kentura goes to the palace to meet the prince, but is met by Nelly instead. Kentura wants Chief stripped of his title for using her mother. The prince then steps in and says, "If you're talking to Nelly, you're talking to me." He then turns to Nelly and asks her to be his girlfriend.